All right, welcome to today's Tai Lopez show. I have a very special guest. He is the independent vice chairman of Deloitte. He is bestseller. If you have not read this book, you haven't been checking my books list, because his book on disruption, I mean, really, you're maybe the world expert on disruption, disruptive innovation, industries, innovations. You teach at USC. You were on Lifestyle Rich and Famous when you were young, because you had, what, 6 video games?
At one point, I had 7 of the top 10 best-selling video games, but that was many decades ago.
And that got you on Lifestyle Rich and Famous?
Yeah, well, if you think nowadays everyone wants to know the crypto billionaires or the dot-com billionaires, the mobile.
Right.
Well, we were the first generation putting PCs out there.
You were part of that.
Yeah,
I
was the first guy to put video on a computer. I started on the internet before people knew what the internet was.
Yeah.
I'm old.
What year was that?
1978.
Wow.
College.
Wait, let's talk about that for a second. What was the internet in 1978? Was it military or something?
So it was DARPA, and what it was is the big universities, UCLA, where I went, connected to each other so that government guys could figure out how to make bombs. But you're a college kid, and you don't care about any of that. And you have to hook up to another college kid who understands computers at another campus. So what did we do? There was no screens back then. You would type jokes to each other. You know, you would talk. Same thing we do today.
So it hasn't changed since the 70s.
I had that advantage of understanding what a networked world could be.
Right.
So by the time I started saying computers should have video, I thought it would happen in the 1980s. It took, decades, right?
Yeah.
When you're young, you don't understand the timing things take. And when I had my first business and everything, I literally thought every home in America would have a PC.
So you were ahead of time, because they didn't think that at first.
But IBM thought they'd sell a few thousand, and it's up on YouTube. When you watch this old lifestyle piece, I'm talking about like all this great stuff that seems obvious for computers, and then they give the stat. There are now worldwide 10 million PCs. And we're like, what an idiot I was to think that my business would succeed, right?
Huh.
That's a very small number of things, but the world happened to go where I am. But I've spent my career learning and looking at how you pick the next trend.
Yes.
Where the money's going. And here's the basic rule. If you go into any field that exists today, pick whatever you want. You're going to open a dry cleaner, you're going to open a restaurant, you're going to start the next giant oil company. You already have competitors.
Okay.
People have been there decades or 100 years.
Yeah.
If you're going to go into the next new thing, augmented reality, who controls that market?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. This $1 trillion potential industry.
Then there's no competition.
Right.
So then you pick and stake your claim of this is what you're going to be the world expert at.
Yeah.
My buddy Brock Pierce sat me down when Bitcoin was in the pennies, under $1, and said this is what the future's going to be.
Do you wish you had listened to him and bought up all you could at 60 cents?
Of course I wish I would have listened, and every time it hits another 1,000, I thank him because I did listen.
So you got in relatively early.
I was slow.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, it's so easy to go and do that. And here's the fun fact. Every month there's a new self-made billionaire in their 20s or 30s. They didn't go to the right schools, they didn't come from the right families. They have the same 24 hours in a day that you and I and the listeners have, but they're doing something different with it.
Yeah.
They're looking at how the world changes and how to seize an opportunity from that change.
Yeah.
So for me, when I looked at the world, and I get bored by doing the same old, I looked at what augmented reality is going to be. And for those that don't know the definition, it's more than Pokemon Go. Imagine your glasses. So right now, in 2017, Americans bought 85 million pairs of glasses for over $100.
Yep.
And all that they do
Just not the Snapchat ones that are rotting in a
right,
warehouse.
no, I'm talking glasses.
Yeah.
And all that they do is focus.
Okay.
So if that same pair of glasses would translate any street sign, you're in Paris, you're in Cambodia, into English, and it was the same price, which would you buy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And there's glasses today that you pay a little more to have polarizing. So, you go outside and it's sunglass or anti-glare, right?
Yeah.
So now we're talking about that you're going to have heads-up display.
So this is like Star Trek. You're going to be able to scan a person's face, you think, and know their background?
Well, that's already available. So facial recognition, you can look, you meet a ton of people, they all remember Tai, and you look like a jerk if you don't remember them.
Right.
But now you can walk at any convention, anywhere, and go, hey, Jay, how's Disrupt you doing? And hopefully do that more sincerely.
Not pretend like you're looking up
But
like
just as Facebook can recognize people's faces in your photos,
right.
you'll have that cognition. But it goes beyond that. So 10 years ago, let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Woo! 10 years ago before the iPhone came out.
Yeah.
If somebody told you in the future you would stare at your phone for 3 hours a day, that's the US average.
That's the average 3 hours. I know
You
some
would have
people
said,
more.
what, did I have a stroke? I mean, why would I stare at a phone for 3 hours? Because 10 years ago, a phone was something you dialed.
Yeah.
And then you talked to somebody. But could you go back to not having a smartphone in your life?
No, people have withdrawal.
Okay. Google had the best business model in the world. Okay? Desktop, only ad thing. Had Google not gone into mobile, where would they be today?
Yeah, they would have been left behind like Microsoft with the internet.
So they didn't invent Android. Back to my thing about self-made thing, when they realized, uh-oh, train left the station, we got to play catch up, they would have bought Android, in my opinion, for any price.
Yeah.
Whatever price they paid turned out to be cheap, and it was billions, right?
Yeah.
Because now they and Facebook together do 84% of all advertising outside of China,
Yeah.
right? That's huge.
Yeah, they have a dominant monopoly almost.
Now if I tell you that you're going to have a pair of glasses and all your ads, all your interactions are going to happen through here, how many of the big boys can afford not to be there?
Right.
And why they're fighting, and I always visualize, my son makes fun of me, I always use the term 800-pound gorilla because I love King Kong. You know, when the giant companies are all fighting over that turf, and if you think of the giant dinosaurs fighting for turf, they didn't notice the little mammals that came along like here or there. You're a mammal. You can go in there and find an area that nobody's focused on.
Yeah.
A friend of mine's company sold this morning Shazam to Apple for $400 million, okay?
So, okay, Shazam, the music recognition app. Yeah.
Let me take you back of how long he's had the vision. So 17 years ago, in the year 2000, I'm in London, and he wants to show me this new technology. He says, got to meet me at a pub. So I go over to the pub. Noises can be tons of people. There's slight background radio playing or whatever. Takes out his phone, and it says the name of the song.
Huh.
I wasn't impressed. I thought it was a carny trick. So I said, I got to show you something even better. He goes, what? Come with me. There's a lot of pubs in London. We go across the street to different pub, different noise level, different song playing. I go, now do your demo. Because I was for sure that he gave
Gave him $20
20
to just pop
20
up
pounds to the bartender when I walk in and play the song. And when it identified the song, my jaw dropped.
Huh.
Now, how do you monetize that?
Right.
So Augmented is that opportunity. So,
But you think it's bigger than 400 million. You think it's trillion.
I don't think it. All the leading stats and studies out there, and I can send you decks on it if anybody wants, or search any of my articles that I write for Fortune. It's been estimated as $1 trillion opportunity. It is the fourth transformation. If the PC changed the world, and I was lucky to get in the ground floor of that, and then the web changed the world, and nobody's going to screw with that, and then mobile changed the world and put us all one click away from 6 billion consumers, which is what you preach to everybody. I might have to be right for a nanosecond to become rich, okay?
Yeah.
This is exponentially bigger.
You think it's as big as all those combined?
Because all those feed into it with some other new exponential technologies, AI to figure out stuff. So right now, when you want to find new information, you search it out, you type into Google. You can't imagine life pre-Google. Let me describe life post that. If my glasses know where I am, everything about me in the past, and why I'm at the store, they're going to give me information that will help me, or anywhere in life. So for example, I come from the doctor. Doctor says, Jay, you have diabetes. You got to watch what you eat. I'm like, oh, okay, but now you go to the supermarket, there's 40,000 SKUs. Am I going to pick up every box?
So you could program the glasses.
No, you don't have to program. You just say, show me the products I can eat.
Yeah.
Or you're on the paleo diet. Show me the paleo, or gluten-free, or halal, or kosher, whatever you want to do. So suddenly, it's not just about adding to the environment, it's about subtracting.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a piece of software that controls what brands and products you see and buy, how valuable is that?
Right.
And what other opportunities?
So the opportunities you come in, kind of like in the gold rush in California, it's not just the gold, it's also owning the shovels, the store that sells shovels, and the hotel.
That's
and
who made the big
bar.
money.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm wearing right now is proof of that.
Yeah.
The miners had a rough life digging in dirt and everything, and the guys took tent material and made pants out of it.
Is that where Levi jeans
His name was
come
Levi Strauss. And he put rivets in the pocket because they were putting gold rocks in their pockets. How many other people from the gold mine can you still remember, and how many companies did they create that are still around? So this is that size opportunity. And I can go on and on. So at Deloitte, we're working with large corporations of how this will change training, how this will change overnight package. I'll give you a simple one. You sit on a plane, and they have those big metal containers that they slide under that you see, those big curved aluminum things. They're filled with overnight packages.
Okay.
It's a bunch of people whose jobs are to throw in the packages. High turnover job, not a fun job. If you're good at it, you get 30% more stuff in there, which is another way of saying, if you don't have that 30% empty, 1 out of 3 planes don't have to fly, $2 billion in jet fuel. If you could go to CEO and say, with magic AR glasses, I can save you $2 billion a year that goes straight to profit without one new package, one new customer. Would you listen?
Yeah, for sure.
Here's how. Now this can identify the shape of the package and look at what's left, and it becomes 3D Tetris.
So this is Tetris. Zach here, my buddy's username on Hotmail is Tetris God.
So imagine that
he's going to be cheating.
Imagine that your job is Tetris. If you are better at packing, you make more money on your shift. Are you now motivated as an employer? Are you enjoying your job? Less turnover. If you're spatially not so good at it,
the glasses
get
do
a
it
new
for
job. No, or get a new job.
Right.
Now, that's one application. We're doing stuff with fast food restaurants, with hospitality, with safety, with oil and gas.
Security. This could be huge.
Oh, security. So back to your face.
At the TSA.
You're walking around the airport and they're a client, and you see that there's also software that can tell the gait of a person, how they walk, if they're up to no good.
Really?
So it can identify
there's a
people
certain way, yeah.
in certain countries that are worried about an Ebola or something going on.
Yes.
You can also see everybody's body temperature. Somebody with a fever, and quarantine them before they come into the country.
Let me stop you 1 second, because this brings up an important point. My cousin told me about, there's a show, Black Magic, I think it's called, and they had an episode.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, sorry, where everybody is ranked, okay? And so you meet somebody, it's like an Uber score. You're like, oh, Zach, he's only a 3-star. I don't want to hang out with him. He tries to talk to me. Do you think that this is going to usher in, if we look at people and go, that person's hot, you know, they have a flu, let's not hang out with them. Is this going to bring up medical ethical issues?
So there's a lot of privacy, and those things will be worked out country by country and whatever. So let's put that in a box. Let's think of opportunity, and then you can start thinking about how to match reality. You have some experience in monetizing dating, correct, in the past?
Right.
So now, if I had a certain profile, you know, the Tinder-esque type thing, that I was interested in X, Y, and Z,
right,
and I'm at a bar or a concert, and I'm wearing these glasses, and it'll highlight anybody that agreed to those same terms,
right,
and only the two of us know it, right?
Yeah.
I see this halo above this woman, and she sees one above me, and we go, hey, right?
Yeah.
Is that a business?
Tinder, for sure.
Okay.
Tinder goggle. The co-founder of Tinder was just at my house. I got to tell him about
I'll take it one step further, and Google just announced this with earbuds that excite me, but the glasses can also talk to you, and they can talk to you silently. There's called bone induction, where this being against your head, you can hear without blocking your ears, okay? So Google has earbuds now that translate anything in 40 languages. Imagine now that you're going on that life trip to Nepal that you've always wanted, and there at the bar is the future love of your life, okay? You travel with 2 pair of glasses. You put them on her, the two of you can look face to face and understand each other no matter what language the two of you speak.
Yeah.
How life-changing is that? It's just one app.
It's almost going to make language irrelevant.
Well, what it'll do, hopefully, is make miscommunication and the fear of others and make our world a better place.
Yeah.
So these big, obvious ones, there's people that are going to spend a ton of money and have a head start. But everybody listening here has their own path in life.
Yeah.
They have an experience that the student at Stanford and the VC in Silicon Valley doesn't have.
Yes.
A farm perspective, a small town perspective, of any industry. And there's some way to apply this just as people applied the phone to it.
Yes.
That's where there's opportunity. You're building on the back of people investing billions of dollars to make augmented reality glasses. And many of these things can be done with a tablet or phone today. You can do augmented reality. It's not as natural because you don't want to walk around a supermarket like
holding
this.
It up, yeah.
But for some applications, you would.
Yeah.
And for some specific fields we're working with, I'll just give you one because it's on top of my mind right now, of utility line workers, people that keep the electricity working in this country, half of them will retire in the next 5 years because of the age of what happened in that industry, which basically means keeping our electrical grid working in this country is in jeopardy.
Okay.
How do you train enough people? Well, training takes a lot of time, and training typically has 2 fatal flaws. By the time I give you information that's out of date,
Right.
and no trainee has 100% recognition of what they learned.
Yeah.
I don't care what the field is. But if a heads-up display can now guide me through stuff, and when I hit the exception, the glasses also have what's called see what I see. So I go out to the field, I've learned how to do 80% of my job installing a cable box, fixing a telco, any repair that you think out there. But then I come across the transformer from 1982. I don't know that. But Ralph back at the office does.
Right, you tap it and boom.
Ralph, instead of having to roll a second truck, and one of our clients, this is a $1 million a day problem that they're facing today in rolling second trucks around the US. Ralph can just sit in his nice air-conditioned crib. He could even be retired and go, oh yeah, I know what that is. He sees what you're doing, tells you what to do, guides you through it, and the AI system or the machine learning system records that and updates the training so the next person that sees that problem, the knowledge is there. Your knowledge stays here. So we just have to learn how to use our heads-up display. The knowledge doesn't leave when an employee leaves.
Yeah.
The world fundamentally changes.
Fire. We just had these huge fires in San Diego. First responders to have the ability, like you said, to patch an expert in. Like, how do you think this fire is moving? I'm on the ground. This is what I see.
Or let somebody instantly see an electrical line. I can't tell you how many first responders die from that.
Yes.
And the system being able to recognize that and know which lines to shut off. I learned this, and this terrified me, so I'll leave out the details of company stuff, but gas lines, you know, natural gas that goes into high-rise buildings like in New York and whatever.
Yes.
Those lines are plastic PVC, and they're welded together by a little bead of heating up the plastic thing.
Okay.
And the safety concern is they want to make sure if there's the slightest hole, gas comes out, and every once in a while you see one of these 4 or 5 story buildings just blows up and people die.
Yes.
So the technology today that's being used is they're so worried about this that 3 people have to look at that and say, yeah, it looks good.
Huh.
With their eyes.
Yes.
It's a black pipe with melted black pipe on it. Your glasses could look at it and know for sure and see through it.
Yes.
First responders with Augmented can be tied into the building plan of the building. And if there's smoke, they'll see a grid, just like you're playing a video game, of where the hallways are and where to go and how to get to whatever you need to do. If you're working in a street, where to dig up, you can look at the street like Superman and see where there's cables running and where there's other things that you shouldn't dig into, because you can tie and feed into the plans.
Yeah.
So there are so many problems that suddenly get solved because some thousands of people invented a new interface for life.
Yes.
And as I said, it's not just about adding to the environment, it's also about subtracting. My other example.
Helping you make decisions by removing a world that has too many options, the paradox of choice.
My fun example is, and Google Lens now does this, they're now identifying objects by seeing them, and they can understand by context why you want to know. So you and I are hiking through the rainforest of Costa Rica, beautiful. A viper comes down and bites me on the hand. I do not want my glasses to tell me the Latin name of the viper. There's pretty much one thing I want to know.
How to get some antivenom.
Is it poisonous?
Right.
Okay. So it says, no, it's not poisonous. My stress level just went down tremendously.
Yeah.
Or it says,
You have 5 minutes to live.
Who would you like to call?
What's your will?
Who would you like to call?
Update your will.
But these are serious issues. So the big change of this 4th transformation is we will always have access to all mankind's knowledge up until that moment.
Yes.
To bring to bear and help us make the best decision in that moment. And as we get into self-driving cars, it's the same thing. We're not staring out the windshield anymore. What are we doing? You've been in your car for 4 hours. The system knows where you've eaten, what type of food you like. We'll say that it's hamburgers for the sake of argument. 1,600 feet ahead is a hamburger place.
Yes.
They know from the CRM and say, hey, Tai, would you like free fries? Say yes. And the car suddenly will drive through their drive-through.
So
that's what
couponing,
CRM.
retail. I mean, it's so basically the reason this is a $1 trillion industry is because it's going to disrupt every single industry.
And what I talk
And every
about
single
is I
application.
teach people in the book how to figure out how to disrupt industries and profit from it.
Yes.
And retain that value. So,
And by the way, if you're listening, the link tailopez.com/disrupt. That will forward you to Jay's stuff, his book, tailopez.com/disrupt. I highly recommend you. This is one of the first books that I actually recommended. You've got the forward by Reid Hoffman, who's the founder of LinkedIn. And that's a good forward.
yeah, no, Reid was fun to work with, and he's a good friend and the smartest human being I've ever met.
Is he really?
Yeah, and for anybody that's made it this far into the interview, there's a companion workbook to give you exercises to start expanding your brain of how to do. It's free, it's for me, it's 40 pages. Just go to jsamit.com, JAYSAMIT.com, and I'll send it right to you so you can get started on this process right away today. But I can't tell you how many opportunities. So mom and pop shops at retail and the malls all got decimated because online you can have endless inventory,
Yes.
and a shop can only fit so many things.
Yeah.
Now the shop can have virtual inventory.
Right, things that
Whole
can't
shelves
fit.
that go on forever.
Will people use this phone in the same way, just going around and saying, like right now, I point it and say, type in blah, 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 Google. Is it the same thing going to happen?
So
Or will people only exclusively be using glasses?
So the phone will be in your pocket and will be powering the glasses. You don't need all the weight of the battery and the processing and everything, just as you have wireless Bluetooth today
Okay.
for an earpiece. So you're not going away with the phone, but the interface of life, and this is for the designers. Here's, there's that which I know and that which I'm fascinated with people that think differently than me. For all of mankind's existence, going back to the caves, everything that we've ever learned from has been within a frame. The Mona Lisa's in a frame, a newspaper's a frame, a magazine, your desktop, your phone. You can understand how to interact with that frame. What is the UI and UX for ubiquitous knowledge in our
Right.
forefront? Do I grab? Do I pinch? Do I wink? Do I, that's being worked out differently by
Blink, maybe?
different apps.
Special slow blink
There is
or
blink that you
something?
can do. One of the programs that we did for a client uses stare. If you stare at something for longer than a certain period of time,
Okay.
it knows that you're saying yes to it.
Yes.
I can also see in the dating situation where that can get you in trouble.
Yeah, you just sit and walk up to women and stare at them.
So that part of this world will be figured out very quickly. I've also met some new technologies that are amazing where when you grab a virtual object with nothing on your hand, no haptics, you can feel it.
Huh.
So that you can move things.
How
as
would
if
you be
they're-
able to feel it with nothing?
Witchcraft is the short answer. They have a tablet that goes on your desk underneath that knows the distance that things are and can send an electric
Okay.
response shock basically to you at low levels that simulate the feeling of objects.
Wow.
So
No comment on where that might go.
most of your major tech companies are spending massively in
So
this
does
space.
Google, Alphabet have a huge R&D for this, and Apple, or do you think they're going to be slow to it?
They're all in it. They're all wonderful clients. And they're all putting the big building blocks in place. All right?
Yeah, what is the time, as we wrap up, what is the time frame where you really see, like this is already, like you said, you can hold your tablet up. Amazon has recognition of you pointed at a book and it tells you, how much it costs.
So
Where does this thing get big?
So the first augmented game, Pokemon Go,
Yes.
made over $1 billion profit.
Oh, it's huge.
And over 500 million people have played it.
Yes. It was massive.
So the train left the station. Okay?
But in terms of the glasses, where do
Okay.
we see that?
So they exist at a high price point today, and I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to give you a longer answer. About 5-6 years ago, when Google had the self-driving car, it had hundreds of thousands of dollars of gear on its roof. Okay,
Yes.
all the sensors that it needed to make it work, and everybody in automotive pretty much just laughed at them. Why would you ever spend time on a vehicle where you need $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 of stuff on the roof? Today, all of those sensors and all that processing is about $56.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 years.
Yeah.
So the fact that you say right now these glasses are very expensive, they solve big problems for industry that we talked about, that it's worth it, and for surgery and for doctors and all kinds of stuff. But the price point, if you look at Moore's Law, comes down half every year.
Yes.
That's why I talked about the 85 million pair that sold for over 100. We're talking between $100 and $200 a pair within the next 24 months.
Okay.
If it's going to take you a year to figure out and build your business, okay?
Yep.
So many people say, when's the best time to start a new business, like in Augmented? And I always give the same answer. A year ago was the best time.
Yeah.
Second best time is now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like when's the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago or today?
Right. So this is, I mean, there's so many different areas to play in, but so many of them require so much technical expertise and capital. Everybody's already done that for you.
Yeah.
When you made an app, you didn't have to figure out how to make a phone work and how to get phones to the world and how to have 3G and 4G and 5G and all that. You got to build on that and capture all that money.
Yeah.
This whole world's already being built. What piece of it would you like to own?
Yeah.
And it's most likely a piece that the big boys aren't focused on.
Yeah. It's probably, anytime it's $1 trillion industry, you can make millions and they won't even notice. Let me ask you this last question, final blitz question, so to speak. You talk about these 4 waves.
Yes.
Is the 5th wave, would you include cryptocurrency in this?
So,
and blockchain technology?
So I'm huge on blockchain. I've been in crypto for a long time, been giving speeches on it since 2014. It's not a wave in the sense that it changes life. It fundamentally changes our financial industry. I spoke at a major conference of bankers, you can find the talk online, about a month ago. You have the 6 largest banks in the world have created their own crypto just for overnight exchanges and balancing. It's saving them billions of dollars and takes what was 3 days to a 2-hour process to reconcile.
Is this like replacing commercial paper kind of thing? How
Absolutely.
banks are, yeah.
What's really impressive about this new space is it also will allow the 2 billion unbanked to suddenly join the financial world.
Yes.
Meaning that everybody, and we don't have time for it today, everybody's phone becomes an ATM machine. So the remittances, expats of India sending money home to relatives spent $12 billion on fees last year.
Yeah, Western Union, PayPal, all these fees. Yeah, massive.
That all goes to zero.
Yeah.
So there's a company, Abra, out there right now that takes that down to zero.
Yeah.
So how money moves, how it's controlled, having a rational currency, I'm not going to predict which currency will win, and I don't speculate with advice, but that's a fundamental sea change in how our financial services work. So capital will now be deployed in different ways, and blockchain will allow who owns a piece of property when a government disappears or there's a revolution.
It's going to disrupt real estate.
Real estate,
education,
the art world, paying royalties to artists. I mean, all kinds
music,
of things.
you see it,
The challenge with it today is it's not as simple and as quick to complete a transaction that it's something that you're going to do at retail. Now, that'll come. But
there's still keys and
the trains left the station and opened the world to thinking of new ways of handling money and empowering people to have more control. But then I tie it back to this. What if instead of you getting a bill that says you were overdrawn on your thing or whatever, you're about to make a purchase and your glasses say your Netflix account was just dinged on your credit card, you will now be overdrawn on your account or this or that, that you now have a bot that talks to you, that gives you financial advice, that your financial advisor is in the cloud. And it could be from one of the big brands, could be from an individual, but we'll now have more control over our environment because our environment will conspire with us, not against us to succeed. And I'm very excited to watch what people create.
You heard it here, tailopez.com/disrupt. Go check out Jay's book, his website. He'll send you that workshop, the workbook, to help you do it. 40-page work. It's a workbook, right?
Yep.
It's a whole kind of system. So I appreciate you coming again.
Thanks, brother.
That was awesome. And by the way, we're going to come back in 2 years, and when this thing's huge, and people are like, I wish I got in, I would be like, we were talking about this in 2017, right at the end. That's awesome. Thanks so much.